So overall speaking, you guys were doing well in those lab sessions. Um, there's only one problems I would like to mention before we start the lecture. Um, if you look at the, let me share my screen. So if you look at the last problems um, in the lab 6, so basically given this string, um, the requirement is to find out what is the number after the colon, right? So it's similar to what we have discussed in the lecture. Basically on lecture 6, around page 30, we have an example. For that one is to extract the domain name from a string, which consists, which containing a email address. So that's quite similar to that problems. So what we think of is basically we need to find where is the colon, and then we can extract slice the numbers after the colon till the end of this string. So what we will use, let me show my how I could how would I write for the, let me find where it is. Just 1 second. So I will show you how would I will write in the Jupyter notebook. So first of all, if you look at this last line, we have the original string. And what we want to do is to find where this colon is, right? In that sense, we just have another variable called at post, right? Whatever name you could assign it, but I would like to use this and use the find function. So in this case, the did I share my screen? Okay, yeah, good. So what we want to find here is the column, right? And we could also print it out, but that's not required. If you print it, you print it. All right, print it out. And then we would like to have the substring after the colon. That means if the position, so basically the position of the string, the position of this column, we want the next one, right? Which is this one. So what we want to have is we could use the, let's see, I use a result, another variable, and this result is the substring of the original one. So starting from the position after this column, which will be in this case with is at position +1, right? That's a starting position for the substring. But we don't know. Actually, we have no assumption about where it ends, because for this case, it's a 4 digits, 4 digits decimal number, but that could have more. Let me see. That could have more digits, something like this. So you cannot really set up a number here. I mean, a position. How many? I mean, how much more you want to extract? So what you the rather want to do is basically set up nothing. If you set up nothing, leave it blank, Python will take over all the rest after this position. So that means no matter how long the number here, it doesn't matter. It will take care of take care of it for you. So that will be a better strategy, because I saw some of you basically you manually count. Okay, because originally it's something like this. So you manually count. Okay, how about the 5? Oh, okay, it's another 5. You could go another 5 position, right? Or some of you find where 5 is. Basically, this number ends with 5. So what if you don't know what the number is, right? That's possible because many times you are reading these strings from a file, so you have no assumption, no pre-knowledge about the number. So just say something like this. So what if you write like this? That will be the most general way to write it. Of course, you can convert it to a float. Let me let me do it here. Result. So I think that's it. Look at what it. So basically, that gives you how this would be solved. So so be aware of what I just mentioned. First, find where this column, right? And you want to start with the next position after this column. But for the ending position, you don't want to have unnecessary assumptions. Just let it go through until the end of the string. And you can easily achieve it by leaving a blank here without paying any extra effort. That's how you solve this question. As I mentioned, because many times you will read a string or through you will obtain the string by reading a file, and that's why you want to have as little assumption as possible. You want the code to be as general as possible. All right, any questions? Okay. If you have no questions, let's start our lecture today. So what we will introduce is the file reading. Basically, as I mentioned, there are many cases. You will read a file instead of given a string. So how you gonna read it? Let me share my screen. All right. Actually, we have many examples which already involves sharing, reading from a file. But let's look at it from the very beginning in a systematic way. Here shows a generic computer. So we have the input output, and also we have the CPU, main memory, and the software running in the main memory and will be accessed by the CPU, right? Also, we have the secondary memory where the files are stored there. So basically, the file reading or file I/O input output are very important in the programming, because you always want to access data, right? So those data will be stored in certain files. And for example, here shows just a fragment of a file, and you want to extract some information, because you can see here there are some email address, right? There's some date, time, and there's some website. And if you want to write a program to read the file and extract some information, for example, you want to extract the email address, let's see. So first of all, you must have some assumption. it might be contradict to what I mentioned previously. I said, okay, you want to have as little assumption as possible, but in reality, you will have some basic understanding. That's the assumption, but you don't want to have the specific assumptions. So in this case, if you want to extract emails address from the file, the assumption is it always starts with a from. So that means if a line starts with from, that means, okay, probably after from, there is an email address. So that's the only assumption you want to have in this file input, file reading. Okay, let's look at what we are gonna do with this simple assumption, right? So, and you can find this file through this website. And after I mean, if you have interest, you can download it and test it yourself. And I will also provide some for the lab sessions. But the idea is, it looks like some journals for the emails. You know, the server of the emails email box those email box servers, they usually have a journal file which will contain all these informations, when, from which email address, at what time, and what kind of the content, and which email address this email is sending, so on and so forth, right? And subjective, right? So the first thing first is to open the file. So before we can read the content of file, we have to let the Python know which file we are looking at, we want to work with. So there's a function which is called open, and this one will take the file name and return a file handle. So this file handle, you can think of it as a variable which is used to perform the operation on the file. So basically, once you have the handle, you can process with this handle. It's an interface between the actual stored file and the Python, right? So it's quite similar to the file open functions in Word or other software. I mean, in many software, there's a option for you to open some file, and this open function just is very similar to this process. Okay. So as you can see here, the two parameters for this open function are file name and mode. So the file name is considered as a string. So you see these quotation marks here, right? Single quotation mark here. Also the options, right? So if we are talking about reading, so put R here. There are other options for the open mode. That could be W. W means write. You're writing a file. You want to store some information to the file, then put W here. But for file reading, that is R, all right? And this open function will return, again, a handle, which is used to manipulate a file. And let's look more about into the handle, right? So what is a handle? Basically, that's the interface between your program and the actual stored file. So you can, after you open the file and return this handle, all the rest in all the rest of time, what you would deal with is to play with the handle. So you don't need to worry about the original file again, but all you want to do is to do with to manipulate the handle, right? For example, these line of code. First, I'll open the file, which is called mbox.txt, right? And then if you print the handle, basically it will shows you many informations about the file. For example, the name of the file, what is the mode for the open function currently is R, and what is the coding method, I mean encoding method, that's a UTF -8, right? So that's what handle is used for. And you will see we will make use of handle in many cases for reading files. All right. There could be some problems. For example, you just write a line like this, and the file name is stuff.txt. But actually, there's no such a file. You just forget to copy the file in that folder. So then this the Python will return some error information, letting you know there's no such file or directory. If you see something like this, no such file or directory, no matter it's in the file reading or when you want to call some function, import some function, import some Python code. If in any of such case, it shows this this line of errors, no such file or directory. Usually, it is because what you are looking at, what you are looking for, is not at the position, at the location it's supposed to be. So go to check the folder whether you have put the file there, set it up correctly or not. All right. Any questions so far? Okay, let's go further. Also, there's another important character, which is called the new line. This new line, basically this new line will start a new line, just from its name. And how it look like? It is the \n. That's the new line character. And if you have this new line character in the string, what you will see is it will start a new line. For example, if you have a string like this, hello, \n world, and if you want to print it out, all right, it turns out print function will take this \n and print this hello first, and then start a new line, print world, and exclamation mark. All right. And also, you can use it to separate the strings into different lines. It will also take the memories. For example, if you measure this string, basically this string consists of x, \n and y. If you print it out, so it will be x, a new line, y. And you measure the length of this string, the length will be 3. So that means it takes this, even the \n takes space. All right, that's the new line characters. And in the files, it's very important. You will see in a lot of cases, there is a new line character. So if we back to the original file, right? If we have these, and in many cases, if actually the text file has the new lines at the end of each line. So as you can see here, even you cannot see it when you open the file, but actually there is a new line. That's how you can make sure, sorry, you could separate the whole file into different lines. Otherwise, it will output every single strings one by one without any separation. So usually a text file has new lines at the end of each lines. So these are the basic knowledge or the assumptions we have for a file, a text file. And knowing this, we could start to read the file using the Python provided functions. So basically, as I mentioned previously, a string is a sequence of characters, right? And you could all use either of these two quotes, the single one or double one, right? Um, Also, some operators, plus operators, basically you combine two together. Um, Also, if you have numbers in that string, uh, you have to convert it to number, either integer or floating number, by explicitly calling the int or string, I mean float functions, right? These are the basics that we have learned previously. And when you read the file using the open function and return the handles. For example, in this case, the handle is the X file, right? And basically, this handle open for read, you can consider it as a sequence of strings. And each line in the file is a string in the sequence. That means if we look back to this, so each line of these, it's a string. When you use the open function to read and return the handles. So each line of these is a single string, and this handle will be the sequence of strings. Because that's a sequence. No, I mean we can easily think about using for statement to iterate through a sequence. For example, like this one. When we open the file and return this handle, and then we start the for loop. Basically, this cheese is the iteration variable, and we just loop through this sequence and print out each of the string, right? So that's how it works. And also a sequence is an ordered set. That means it will, starting from the first line of the file till the end of the file, right? So that's how that's the easiest way to utilize the handle, right? Basically, handle is a sequence, right? Another very interesting application is counting the lines, right? Sometimes we just want to know how many lines we have in a file. So basically, we can open the file and use the loop to read each line. And when we read each of the line, we just use another variable to memorize it. And it turns out we will have the overall count of lines. So accordingly look at this, look at these lines of code, Python code. Again, open this file and return this handle f hand, right? This is representing the handle, and we have another variable used to keep the line count, right? And then starting a loop for each line in the in a sequence of strings. We will add 1 to the count of lines, and turns out we will have the overall lines of in the file and print it out. So as you can see here, wow, that's a lot. So we have more than 133 lines of strings in this file. I mean, that's a normal number, because it could be very large for those text journal files used in many large systems like the mailbox servers, right? It's quite quite possible size of files. That's how you have the line count. Alternatively, we could read the whole file, including the new lines and all other characters, into a single string, right? That's also possible. So again, we have this we have this open function, right? And once we open this mbox-short.txt file, we can return the handle to this and assign it to this variable f hand. All right. If we use the read function, f hand.read, this will return a single string, and we can assign it to this INP variable, and that will give you a single string containing all the lines, new lines. And if we print it out, the length of this string, it turns out it's 94,000 something. And since the INP is a string, we could manipulate it using what we have learned about strings, right? So basically, this line tells Python to print the characters from 0 to 20. So if we back to the original file, 0 to 20, okay, that is from F to somewhere here. And it turns out is something like this. So that's how we convert the whole file into a single string. So as you can see, you can either loop through array to get each of a line of the file, or rather, we'd rather keep it in a single string. Either way is fine. The reason we use a single string is sometimes we could use the functions provided by the string, and that could be an easy way to realize some functions you want. And let's look at some of the examples using both of the two methods, right? First thing is search through a file. So basically, once you have the handle obtained by calling the open function, you could easily loop through each of the lines Of course, you could also do a search when accessing each of the lines. Basically, if you can set up a if statement inside the for loop. First thing first, open the file mbox-short.txt, and then loop through the array and access each of the line. And you can set an if here to check whether, okay, each line to check whether the current line starts with from colon or not. And if that is the case, well, probably that suggests a email address. And also that's the email address where the email is sent out, right? That's an assumption we could make. And here we can just print it out if that line starts with from and colon, right? That's how you search through a file. But actually, there are sometimes there are blank lines like the one showing here. So what we're gonna do with these blank lines? So whether this will bring trouble to us, let's look at it. So each line from a file has a new line at the end. That means you have this new line as well, right? Also, the print statement will add a new line to each line. Also, these blank lines. So there will be the new line character as well. But actually, in many processes, we do not want to have such a new line character. So what should we do with it? There's a function of string called strip. So this strip will strip the white space from the right-hand side of a string. That means it will check these lines, each of them. And remove or strip the white space. And this new line is considered white space. So that's how it could be stripped. In that sense, the original lines will be converted like this, meaning this new line has been stripped. So that's how you remove it. And it turns out it only have these useful informations left. And if we look at the code, basically open the file and loop through array using the for loop. And for each of the line, do the strip. So that will remove the new line character of each of the line, no matter there's content for that line or it's a blank line, no matter how remove it. And that will also remove those blank lines, right? And then do the search, whether you want to have some, whether you want to check the lines starts with from colon or not. If that is the case, print out that line. All right, any questions? Nope. Okay, good. Another little trick is to utilize the continue in the loops, right? I think we have discussed the continue a statement in loops, and this kind of statement will skip the following lines of the code within the for loop or the while loop, and go back to the starting point of the loop, and then get into the loop again. So you can utilize the continue statement to skip some of the lines. For example, if we look at let's look at the code showing here. We open the file and start the loop. This line removes the white space. That means if you have the new line character, this will be removed. These blank lines will be removed. And then set up this if not line starts with from colon, means for the lines which are not starts with from colon, continue. Means if that is the case, all the rest will not be executed, and it go back to the for directly and check if this condition is still satisfied. Not in this case means whether each of the line has been accessed or not, processed or not. If if there's still some lines are not processed, go into the loop again and check this condition. So basically this line of condition statement, the if statement, will avoid the printing in case that line does not start with from colon. Only the ones starts with from colon will be print. Right? That's how you understand what this continue statement used for. So this is just a simple example. So these lines are only printed, but just imagine your tasks are extract these email address. Then you could put other operations here instead of just print it out. And this if statement will make sure that those lines which are not starting from colon will not be processed. And that's how this continue statement together with if work together. All right.
Professor, I have a question. Couldn't we
Yeah.
just use like an if statement and then an else statement to do the same?
Okay. But so you mean if starts, else, right?
Right.
But the thing is, else you do nothing. So you do you do not need an else. You just want to basically that's a different scenario. For the if else, usually for if is satisfied, you won't do something. Else you do something else, right? But in this case, only this condition is satisfied, you won't do something. Otherwise, do nothing. So that's how what is the difference between if else and just putting an if plus this continue. So you still want to continue the scanning line by line, but only if there's some case satisfied, something else will be executed. So, and try to understand this logic, all right? So let's look at other possibilities. For example, you want to extract, or in this case, just a simple print, but you can easily substitute other operation here. But the key here is you want to select some email address belonging to a certain domain like this one. So you only want to check those email address with this domain, meaning it probably they are from the same institution or organization, and you only care about email addresses from these entities. So you can easily set up another criteria like this. So this line means, okay, if in that line, we don't have such a substring, then we do nothing. Otherwise, print that line out. You could substitute other functions like save it or extract that email address, so on and so forth. But the idea is you could set up all different criteria to process the file using this kind of strategy. All right. So any question? Nope. Okay, let's continue. I think another very interesting application is to combine the file reading with user input. Just like many function has the open file function. Basically, when you click on the open file, and there will be some pop-up window and asking you to specify the file. Similarly, you could ask user to input a file name, and based on the file name, you could open a file and return this handle. And if the handle is returned, you could start a loop. Of course, this is very simple. Just find the lines start with subject colon, right? And that means, okay, probably that represents a subject line. And usually a single email will have one subject colon, and that could be used to identify how many emails in total, right? But after all, you could have this kind of result printed. There were the count of subjects, and turns out something like this. And that's how you input the file by the user, and then have some simple statistic of the file by using loop through array, also the search function, and this if statement. All right. Another very important thing is when name your file, you definitely want to make sure the name has some is meaningful. I mean, like the mbox, you could have. I mean, by just reading this file, by reading this name, you could some assumption. Okay, probably that is related to the mailbox or something, right? Also, within the file name, there shouldn't be any space, and otherwise there will be an error information like file cannot be opened, something like that. So when you set up your file, name your file, make sure it will make sense, and also it's free of these kind of syntax errors. And also, in order to improve the robustness of file reading, you want to use the try except statement. So if there's something wrong with the file name or the file itself, this will not kill the program and exit the program instantly. Instead, it will print out some error information and quit safely. Basically, just use the try to inside the try, that's the open file function. And if it is not successful, then go to the except. That means, okay, you tried to open the file, but there's something wrong, then print this and quit, right? Otherwise, that means these line of code are not executed. That means you have successfully opened the file and you have the file handle fhand, right? And then you could do some statistic, okay, by looping through the file, the file handle, and check how many lines starts with subject colon. And then turns out you have your statistic obtained here. So again, make sure the file name to be meaningful, also without any space. All right. So that's the two criteria for naming a file, and also utilize this try except when you are not sure what kind of file, what kind of operation you could have. Make sure you utilize these, and that will make your program more robust. And it's a good way to handle the exceptions and the problems. All right, I think this part is simple, and you could learn it together with the string because it's closely associated with string, right? And we will have more practice in Thursday's labs with strings and files. And it turns out I would like to give you a little more chance to testify those functions and those strategies with strings and files. And to summarize, the files are stored in the secondary storage, and we have the open file, which will return a file handle. And there's a new line character will be the end of each line. Sometimes you just don't want to have the new line character. Then use the rstrip function to remove them after you read the file. Also, a for loop is very convenient to use for looping through the whole file. You can use many functions in string, like searching, and also even you can replacing if you want to make some changes of the file. There are a lot of applications for the file reading, and definitely let's try more of the file reading and the strings in the lab sessions. I think that's all for today's lecture, and I will stay here if you have any questions. Hopefully I could give you some help. All right.
Thank you, Professor.
Yep, welcome.
Thank you so much. See you on Thursday.
Sure, yeah, see you.
Bye.
Bye.